Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Digital Feel Good. My name is Jessica. I go by Joss Speaks. And today we are jumping into another one of my snippets, as I like to call it. This is where I usually break down a quote, but today I don't have so much of a quote as I have a comment. Over the past couple of weeks, I've had some wonderful guests on the podcast. I've had a lot of great feedback about the podcast, and ultimately I've had a lot of people reach out to me to become guests on the podcast. So one of my mentors that I speak with on a regular basis actually asked the question, now, what is the goal of the podcast? Like, what are you hoping to get out of this, or how are you hoping to serve people with the Feel Good as a podcast as well as a web series, is to bring more positivity first and foremost to the digital media space, but also have a platform to bring voices of individuals that you may not hear anywhere else, and some that you definitely will hear other places, but also to have a platform where the voices that I feel you need to hear, you can have access to those individuals that I know have a wonderful, powerful message, that they are truthfully leaders in their own rights. I wanted to have a platform where I can bring them on and share their voices with you. There's a lot of different things that keep leaders from utilizing digital media. I mean, the true leaders, so the real people that have an actual message to share, actual insight, knowledge, expertise in their area. If we take this into a context of music, which I love to use, if you're an artist and you are on stage and you have a bunch of people who subscribe to your newsletter, however, they never come to your shows, you're going to be broke. They never buy your merchandise. They never download your singles. They never purchase your singles on iTunes. The only thing that they do is listen to you on YouTube. You will be broke. They have to love your content enough to want to come see you in person, to purchase your single, to purchase your album, to purchase your merchandise, to come out and see you whenever you do, pop-up meetings, different places, if we're speaking in the context of an artist. So I wanted to pose this question to you all because I find that so many people just want the audience to be there. They want the followers, but are they really truthfully ready to lead? Are you equipped to lead? Are you really laser focused in on why you're doing what it is that you do? Wanting to lead and not having focus is the equivalent of leading blindly. Right? It really truthfully is. And in order to take those blinders off, you have to be okay with yourself. I think a lot of people jump onto social media and they're looking to gain followers without themselves having an understanding of who they are, without truly evaluating why they're doing what they do. Because if you have followers and you are leading those followers into the darkness, then it's all for naught. Looking inside yourself and validating yourself first before you look outside for validation is the only way to truthfully lead. And then on top of that, of course, is they have to have the focus and to understand exactly what you're doing here. How are you serving the audience? How are you serving the individuals who are, quote unquote, following you? People that are friending you? How are you leading them to become better, to become more, to grow? Ultimately, it looks at our impact. So, another story for you. My father has been having some health challenges, and he's been dealing with just come out and say prostate cancer. And for me, as his daughter, it's my responsibility to, just make sure he's going to his appointments and checking in with him. And my dad is a very self-sufficient guy. So I can't call him daily. It will drive him nuts. I can't go over there and try to make dinner for him and stuff because, number one, I can't cook. But he will have a fit. He's like, I can do it. Leave me alone. He's kind of that guy, right? So recently, I talked to him, I'd given him a call, and he just sounds so down. And I had to find that thing for him. Who's that individual out there that he, quote unquote, follows that I know impacts his world enough to where if he hears something from that individual, then he can overcome what he was going through. And for my dad, it's Bruce Lee. So, I don't know if you guys know, but there is a podcast called the Bruce Lee Podcast, which Bruce Lee's daughter is the host of that podcast. And I kid you not, I sat there and I went through a couple of the podcast episodes and I tried to find an episode where I felt that my father would listen to it and he would get a sense of inspiration or empowering boost. And I found that episode. It was actually an episode where Bruce Lee himself had a back injury and he tried to find a way to work around his back injury where, doctors were telling him he wasn't going to walk again, so on and so forth. And she kind of given some insight into what Bruce Lee did. So I sent that to my dad. And I didn't know if it would help. I didn't know if he was even going to listen to it or anything, but I had to give him some encouragement. I had to tell him that this is in your mind first. Yes, physically, you do have this ailment, you have these things that are going on, and you just have this surgery. But in your mind, do you believe? Do you have hope? Do you believe that you'll be okay? Or at least that you're working towards healing? Are you allowing your body to heal? What are the things that you're putting into your body? So on and so forth. So in this Bruce Lee podcast, there was a part in the podcast where Bruce Lee says that everything works towards the greater good. Even the bad things that happen works towards the greater good. And so, like I said, I sent that podcast episode to my dad. I didn't know if he was going to listen to it or not. And I called him back about 2 to 3 days later, and he said, "You know what? Thank you. Hearing all that information about Bruce Lee and how he did it, it just gave me hope. And it helped me move from feeling sorry about myself into a state of empowerment and knowing that I impact what happens in my body, my mind and my thoughts. That's what I need to look at." And I was blown away. Now, I tell you guys that story because I don't think we truly understand our life's impact. I am sure that when Bruce Lee, who went out to become a karate expert and an actor and be in movies, so on and so forth, he really did it for the culture, for his culture, right? For individuals that were like him, I'm sure, and as well as others, of course. But he really truthfully had this idea in his mind of maybe the people that he would be helping, the people that would see in him what they needed. I really don't truthfully think he was thinking, yeah, black man in the Bay Area that just came off of surgery for prostate cancer, he's going to need to know about my story, right? So it really brings home this whole thought of our impact as human beings and our lives' impact and how we need to document that. In my digital media work, as well as in my maternal mental health advocacy, I tend to document a lot of the things that I do because I understand that in that moment, we don't feel like we're making history. 4 years ago, when I started doing what I'm doing now in maternal health and maternal mental health, I had no idea that going around to and knocking on politicians' doors, and I had no idea that that stuff would come back around to basically say, yeah, you started this movement. It's crazy because recently I just had someone comment on a Facebook post and say, you know what, you're the start of this movement. You started all of this. Thank you. And I'm like, wow, man. Our lives have such great impact on the individuals around us. Our lives are the one thing, our experiences are the one thing that really changes and shifts the game for a lot of us. I mean, if we think about those individuals, that came before us and the impact that they have on our lives now because they chose to stand up in that time, it really gives us something to work towards and something to work for. So I wanted to record this podcast because I wanted to put out there this notion of, how are you leading before you ask for followers? Before you ask for someone, for a flock of sheep to follow you as the big lion that you say you are, what are you doing? How are you impacting the world? How is your life going to leave behind a legacy, or leave behind information, or leave behind an experience, or leave behind um, something that someone can learn from, which I can't think of a word to say? How will your life do that before you ask for followers? Before you pray to the heavens and strategically put everything in place to get people to follow you, how are you leading? And are you confident, and are you competent in your leading journey? Do you understand the impact that your life is here to make? So I'm going to end it with this. Altogether, this is a call out to leaders to stand up. This is a call out to those who even think they possess even just a little bit of skill in leadership. And I don't mean leadership in the way of executive or corporate leadership. I mean just pure on, I have some knowledge and some expertise that I know I need to share with individuals, and I'm going to share it. Or I have a mission or a vision that will help people move forward and help them grow, and I need to put it out there. I need to rally and get people behind me, because this is something that will definitely change the game for X, Y, and Z individual. This is really just a rallying call to leaders. We need more leaders and less followers, right? And so while everyone is focused in on, I need followers, I need likes, I need, let's focus in on, how about not followers? How about we need more leaders? We need more people in positions of decision making, in positions of expertise sharing, in positions of just relevance and relatability and reliability. We need more leaders and less followers. So will the real leaders please stand up? Doing what is right and serving the audience with a true message, doing the work that impacts the world, is ultimately what we're here to do. Now, how will your life impact the world? Not just now, but for generations to come.